A Memorial Day tribute at a baseball game on Monday turned controversial when a picture of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showed up in the video. The baseball team apologized, but was that the right thing to do? With the economy booming, can Trump win in 2020? We'll take a look at some new analysis. Plus, an organization says that we need convicted felons to vote and vote now to combat global warming. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, can Trump win in 2020? We'll take a look, but first, our friends over at Bottle Breacher welcome you to the 13-minute news hour, and they have a special message just in time for Father's Day. Don't just tell your dads you appreciate them. Show your appreciation with an awesome gift from Bottle Breacher. Just go to bottlebreacher.com, use coupon code Bobby13-A1 for 20% off your purchase, and show your dad that you really do care. That's bottlebreacher.com, coupon code Bobby13-A1. All right, so now let's look at President Trump, because was a really good article in the New York Times that talked about some of the models that predict presidential outcomes, and the trend is really looking good for President Trump. Let's take a look. How big is Trump's tailwind? Fortunately, economists have worked hard to develop models for predicting election outcomes, and according to one of these, the best of these, it should be quite large. One of the first and perhaps still the best of these models was created by Ray Fair, a professor at Yale. He found that the growth rates of gross domestic product and inflation have been the two most important economic predictors, but he also found that incumbency was also an important determinant of presidential election outcomes. All right, so we have the Fair model. How has it fared in the past? Well, let's take a look. In short, while not perfect, the Fair model has done remarkably well. In 2008, it predicted Barack Obama would receive 53.1% of the popular vote. His share actually totaled 53.7%. In 2012, when Obama was running for re-election, final estimate of the vote share of 51.8% was just 0.2% less than the incumbent president received. For Mr. Obama in 2012, the power of incumbency helped offset a still recovering economy. So how did the Fair model look for President Trump in 2016 when he was running the first time? Let's take a look. When the 2016 election rolled around, a surprising result emerged. According to the model, Donald Trump should have received 54.1% of the vote. In actuality, he received 48.8%. I'm quite confident that the gap was a function of the generally unfavorable rankings on Mr. Trump's personal qualities. In other words, a more normal Republican would likely have won the popular vote by a substantial margin instead of losing by 3 million votes. All right, so Fair's prediction was 54.1% in 2016. Trump actually got 48.8%, and he's saying that it was due to an intangible not in the equation, which is how they viewed Trump's overall personality. So how does he look going into 2020 with the unemployment so low, with the GDP growing, with taxes down, regulations down? Let's take a look. In the present state, the economy also be helpful to the president. All told, Mr. Trump's vote share would ordinarily be as high as 56.1%, but that's before factoring in his personality. It's worth noting that the Fair model is hardly alone in its forecast. Mark Zandi, chief economist for Moody's Analytics, has looked at 12 models, and Mr. Trump wins in all of them. Donald Luskin of Trend Macrolytics has reached the same conclusion as his examination of the Electoral College. So the models show, based on how things are going, that Trump wins, with personality being kind of a little bit of a wild card. Here's some other interesting data that really shows well for President Trump, and this is from Gallup. This is a report from the Washington Examiner. More Americans believe that Trump has the personality and leadership qualities to be president than 2 years ago, and he topped former President Barack Obama's rating for working on issues most important to them, according to the new survey. Gallup found that 47% agree with Trump on issues, edging Obama at the 2-year mark of his presidency. In April 2007, 45% agreed with Obama on issues. All right, this data tracks with Rasmussen data that we showed earlier, that president's approval rating is tracking right around where Obama was at the same point in 2 years. But here's more. And Trump was graded more in line with the political ideology of Americans than Obama and former President George W. Bush. Asked about Trump's ideology, 38% said it was about right. Some 35% said the same thing about Obama, and 36% for Bush. And I want to show you a chart so you can kind of see that in action. So you can see the chart and how it compares to other presidents. As you can see, you have to go back to Bill Clinton to find a president whose the voters aligned more with him on political views, or he aligned more with the voters on political views. So that's a great sign. But there is a warning. There is a danger that Gallup has showed. And here's more from the Washington Examiner. The latest survey found that Trump has a character rating deficit that could hurt him in 2020 re-election campaign comes down to that. Gallup found that 58% disagree that Trump has the character aspects of leadership and personality of the president. So I'll put this chart up there so you can see this graphically, what I just said in words. So President George W. Bush leads the field with 64% saying that he has the personality and leadership qualities that a president should have. Obama with 59%, and Trump trails at 40%. So this personality thing is going to be a deal. The Democrats cannot win on the economy, on jobs, on taxes, on border security, any of that. They can't win on it. They're running to the left, which means they aren't aligning themselves up with the voters. And Gallup shows that President Trump is doing better than Obama did as far as lining up with the voters on shared political views. So the only thing they can attack him on is this personality. So my advice, don't open yourself up to those attacks. You know, blast the media if you want on Twitter, but stay away from the personal attacks. Don't open yourself up. Hit the economy, hit the jobs, keep pushing that, keep pushing your outreach programs, and you're going to win in 2020. All right, let's move on to this story real quick, because there's an organization out there that is so fired up to get convicted felons to vote, and the reason is because they think they need them to address global warming. Here's a report from the Daily Caller. Environmentalists joined the far-left campaign to give voting rights to incarcerated felons, arguing felon voting is crucial to fighting global warming. Until each and every one of them have their voting rights restored, the movement for climate justice and every progressive cause will be severely disadvantaged. Saablo Narashemin, digital campaign manager for 350.org, wrote in an email to supporters. All right, so they're talking about needing convicted felons in order to advance this agenda. Here's more from the Daily Caller. 350.org is a far-left environmental group founded by activist Bill McKibben, a staunch Sanders supporter, who once called former President Barack Obama a climate denier for allowing an oil company to explore the Arctic for Arctic oil. An assault on our democracy and the right to vote directly affects how we address the current climate crisis. When people can't vote, fossil fuel billionaires win. Oh my gosh, folks, this is what we have to deal with. This is the agenda that they're pushing, that we need people still in prison to be able to vote, to advance the left-wing cause. It's just absolutely nuts. And it shows you that they are not built on principles. The left and the Democrats are not built on principles that apply to everybody. They have to find these target groups and say, what can we do for women? What can we say to Hispanics to show that Republicans are so bad? Now they're trying to reach out to the constituency of convicted felons and get them on their side, rather than standing up for principles that make sense. It's just outrageous. All right, so now to our main story. This past Memorial Day, the Fresno Grizzlies, which is a minor league team, used to be affiliated with the Astros, but now they're with the Washington Nationals, had a doubleheader on Memorial Day, and in between games, they played a tribute video. It was absolutely awesome. The music, the speech by Ronald Reagan, the words, it was very touching. But at the end, there was some controversy because of a picture that popped up with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here is the story from Fox News. Washington Nationals minor league affiliate apologized Monday for a Memorial Day tribute video that appeared to show an image of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez between dictators Kim Jong-un and Fidel Castro, while former President Ronald Reagan spoke of the enemies of freedom. Fresno Grizzlies team president Derek Franks told the TV station playing the video was truly an oversight. The team also released a statement apologizing for playing the clip. All right, yeah, so the Fresno Grizzlies issued a statement. I'll put it up here. You guys can check it out, but there's one part that I wanted to go over. It says, a pre-produced video from outside our front office was selected. Unfortunately, what was supposed to be a moving tribute ended with some misleading and offensive editing, which made a statement that was not our intent and certainly not our opinion. All right. So that wasn't enough for the Fresno Grizzlies. In addition to that tweet, they issued another apology. I'll put that up on the screen. They said, "We're embarrassed we allowed this video to play without seeing it in its entirety first. We unconditionally apologize to Representative Ocasio-Cortez in addition to our fans, community, and those we hurt. It was a mistake, and we will ensure that nothing like this ever happened again." All right, so what actually happened? What was the big deal? Well, let's take a look at the video so you can kind of get the flavor for it and see what happens at the end. Here's a clip.
Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price.
Wow, for me, there's nothing like listening to the voice of Ronald Reagan, and here's more of it.
Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom.
It's just such a moving video, but the controversy comes at the end. Take a look at this.
As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
All right, so in fighting the enemies of freedom, we see Antifa, we see Kim Jong-un, we see Fidel Castro, and in between those two, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, should there have been an uproar? Should there have been a backlash? Should the Fresno Grizzlies have gone to the lengths of multiple statements and apologies for including her? I want to hear from you guys. Let me know. Jump into the comments and let me know if you think this video was off base or if it was right on, because I'd really like to hear from you. Here's what I know, okay? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't label herself a Democrat. She labels herself a democratic socialist, okay? She believes in policies that would result in a government takeover of healthcare, government takeover of education, government takeover of jobs to the point where they will pay people who are even unwilling to work, policies that would tell you what you could drive, what you could eat, and the buildings that you could build. All of that pretty much sounds like socialism to me, and it sounds like taking away our freedoms and giving it to the government. So is she an enemy of freedom? I absolutely positively say yes, but I want to hear from you. She also put out a tweet saying this. It says, when people maybe do realize that when organizations air these hateful messages, my life changes because of the flood of death threats they inspire. Well, it wasn't a hateful message. I don't agree with that at all. And I want to hear from you guys because the video was awesome. She is definitely an enemy of freedom, but I want to see what you think. Folks, that's our show for today. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. Hit that bell when you do so you get notified. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.